Goonland Productions presents The Omega Cast with your host, J.P. Whitman.
And welcome to The Omega Cast, episode 12. This is your host, J.P. Whitman. Alongside me is my trusted companion, John Kerns. So, we got some news for you, we got some reviews for you, and we got a little fantasy booking at the end of the show. But to start this, before we get into the news segment, I want to talk about something. And I don't have many personal heroes outside of like people I know, like my father and such. You know, people like that. I look up to people, I respect people, I get happy for people, but I don't invest who I am in people I don't know very often. Today I listened to the Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast, and his interview was from his and Jim Norton's Sirius XM show this week with Mauro Ranallo. Tonight, which is Friday, we record on Friday, we put up on Saturday, if there's no technical difficulties, if you guys didn't know that. Tonight on Showtime, there will be a Mauro Ranallo documentary called The Bipolar Rock and Roller. And it goes into his life with his bipolar disorder. And hearing Mauro talk about the suicides that have happened to mental health issues and how he is willing to be scrutinized and be a casualty for this cause, and how bipolar disorder and mental health not only affects the person but affects the family and friends of those people as well. It really makes me appreciate him to a level where he has become a personal hero, because a lot of people get memorialized for mental health when they die. But Mauro seems to be going for not memorialization, but he's bringing more eyes to the mental health issue. He went in depth about how it affected his family, how it affects him from his childhood till today. He even spoke about why he left WWE the first time, and he said the JBL stuff was bullshit. It was the stress of being on the road for 52 weeks and doing Bellator and doing Showtime boxing. And he also brought up a point that I thought is crucial to the mental health discussion. And it's like, if someone's going through chemotherapy or if someone has a broken arm, no one bats an eye. You get time off from work, you get sympathy from people, but mental health disorders you cannot see. And a lot of people could say, oh, they're just being lazy, oh, they don't want to do this, oh, it's a lie. But when you are so anxious that you can't move, or you're so depressed that you're staring up at the ceiling, looking at the ceiling fan, wondering if your body's going to break the ceiling fan if you decide to hang yourself, you know, those are real conditions, those are problems. And I would like to take this time to say that Mauro Ranallo is a personal hero to me as I struggle with my own mental health disorders. John, do you have anything to say about this subject? John is rendered speechless. So, yeah, thanks Mauro Ranallo, and everybody check out that Showtime documentary. It airs Friday, May 25th on Showtime. So, we will get into this week's news. John, let's go.
So we do have some really cool news headlines, but before I go into that, I do want to say that I'm very happy that Mauro cleared up that whole JBL situation. Now, going into the actual news, I want to start off with some big news coming from WWE's Blue brand, SmackDown Live. Now, this broke on The Hollywood Reporter, and they are saying that WWE has agreed to move SmackDown to Fox starting in the fall of 2019. And this move will net the company more than $1 billion in TV rights fees and over the course of 5 years. So the new deal, which is nearing completion and is worth $205 million annually, is expected to begin in October 2019 and will mark a threefold increase over what NBC Universal is currently paying to air SmackDown on its USA network. Now, SmackDown will make the move back to Friday nights, so Friday Night SmackDown is coming back, and it's going to be live. Rumors are also circulating that SmackDown, much like Raw, could potentially transition to a 3-hour format, and that part seems unlikely to me, but it would give WWE more than 6 hours of televised weekly programming for its main roster, if that does happen. So, a lot of people are saying that moving back to Friday nights will put SmackDown in the dreaded Friday night death slot, quote-unquote. But I think SmackDown is in prime position for a big success on Fox. JP, what do you think about this?
I think that all in all, as a whole, this is great because we see with All In that there are a lot of fans of wrestling nowadays. Fans are popping up globally, where after the Attitude Era, wrestling kind of took a slump, and even in the entertainment business, it was looked at as kind of a joke. This move to Fox shows that not only fans are interested, but industry is interested as well. We know that Fox runs UFC, so it opens up potential for so much more fans to get a hold of it. As talking about Fridays, I miss the big time from Monday Night Raw to SmackDown. I always liked SmackDown at the end of the week and Raw at the beginning of the week. I also think that maybe they want to move to Friday to possibly undercut the new MLW show, MLW Fusion. That's just a thought. I don't know if it's true. But congrats to the WWE. And if the WWE is doing good, then all of wrestling is doing good.
Now, this report did spark up some rumors right away about the potential of them canceling 205 Live. Now, that would... I don't know necessarily that that's going to happen. I don't see it happening. But it would kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth because of all the work that's been done recently to make that show better than it was previously.
Well, think of it like this. They invested in these performers and this show. But if the rumors are true and SmackDown goes to 3 hours, where do you fill that time? You integrate those 205 Live wrestlers into your main roster programming. I don't think that it's going to hurt the performers. Maybe the show goes defunct. Maybe it doesn't. This is all rumor and innuendo, as Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard would say. So I'm not going to give it too much of my time until I see it happen. The second bit of news. A lot of the news this week comes out of the WWE camp. But I'm going to go out there and throw this. One of the 1 Hour Tease guys made a statement about a certain wrestler being backstage at the All In press conference. And it's believed to be CM Punk. So those thoughts and rumors about possibly Punk showing up at All In, there's more fuel to that fire right now. So that's pretty cool. another bit of information. WWE has informed international broadcasters that pay-per-views will now be 4 hours long, but the Cornerstone pay-per-views will be longer. It's also been talked about that instead of starting at 8, it's going to start at 7 with the pre-shows going on at 6. I think this is a great move. As you saw in Newark and during Backlash, you got, if this is a family-friendly product, kids got to go to bed, they got to go to work, people got to go to work in the morning, they got to get their kids ready in the morning for school, and it's just better all around. Like, I don't have kids. I do have a job. Usually I request off the day of and after the show, but it still is annoying to stay up that late and try and pay attention to these long pay-per-views. So, yeah, what do you think about that, John?
I really like I like the idea of the 4-hour pay-per-view. I feel like it's a pretty obvious thing, honestly, with Raw being 3 hours, and now they're saying possibly SmackDown being 3 hours once it moves to Fox in October next year. I think it's a good move to make the pay-per-views 4 hours, and that's actually going to start with Money in the Bank, which is next month. So they're starting that like boom right now.
Yep. Couple other pieces of information we've come across here, and this is from Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer. And quote, while this has been said before, including at a WWE investors call, and Vince McMahon changed his mind on it, right now the idea of ICW and Progress from the UK going to the WWE network is back on, at least this week. But this is close enough that we've been told the announcement, if it happens, would be coming right around the time of the Royal Albert Hall shows, aka the WWE UK tournament. I'm pretty psyched about that. I hope it happens. I'm really pushing for tiered type of WWE network where all of their partners can get onto the network, because as a wrestling fan, I don't want to spend $10 for every wrestling I want to see for a month. Like, I'm not going to spend $100. So just somebody let these places run their shows, get some bank off of it, and let me watch it. You know what I mean?
No, I see what you mean, but I'd like to keep the $10 price point. But I could see them maybe bumping it up to 15 if you want to get like the Progress and ICW stuff. And I'd be willing to pay that to see that stuff because I want to see all the wrestling.
That's my goal. We want all the wrestlings.
Yeah.
So the next bit of information is a treacherous, possibly, bit of information. Also from the Observer, this was said, WWE has also gotten very aggressive regarding trying to sign up indie talent with MLW as the target since they just got television. MLW has a show now called MLW Fusion on BN Sports. That will be interesting because the key guys MLW is relying on having signed contracts. There were reports that WWE approached several wrestlers under contracts to MLW. According to legal papers sent, the talent advised MLW of the offers and told WWE they were signed, but WWE told the wrestlers they should still come to try out and be around the system. In the past, WWE would back off when approaching talent under contract to a degree due to what happened in the past with ROH. They'll still get word indirectly to tell people not to renew their deals like they did with ROH, and there were guys in ROH based on promises made and such while under contract that one would think was tampering. And that's what led to the legal situation last year where WWE had to pull all offers from the ROH talent and waited months after their contracts expired before approaching them again. Although in the end, the guys like Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, and Bobby Fish all came. The MLW deals signed with its key talent were for multiple years. Now, I'd like to say that the ROH part is not only what happened. I remember when Lucha Underground season 1 ended, there was a lot of news coming out that WWE was trying to scoop out all of their talent. I believe Chris DeJoseph in a interview said that was happening, and they basically put them on kind of a lock with their contracts. And then you heard Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, say at last year's New Japan show in California he wasn't able to show up because a certain underground Mexican show was holding him back. So this type of going after talent every time a new promotion gets a deal is something that I don't like to see from WWE. It hinders the wrestling business. You could have all the talent under the sun and put on every show you want to, but you're not going to stop wrestlers, people who want to be wrestlers, people who want to be promoters from starting over again. Vince McMahon killed the territory system. The indie wrestling found its way again with ROH in the early days and IWA. Now we see a boost globally in independence. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a little promotion here and there having TV deals. Because at the end of the day, you're still on top of the mountain. Keep doing what you're doing because it's good, but come on now. This is ridiculous.
I have to agree with you. I think it shows a great deal of insecurity in Vince himself when you see stuff like this coming out of the news wires and out of the dirt sheets and stuff. But I believe that rounds up the news, right? Is that?
It does. And it's a good segue since we're talking about MLW because in our review section today, we are going to start off with last Friday's MLW Fusion episode, Double Jeopardy. It was the 5th episode of MLW Fusion. It wasn't my first time watching it, but I know that it was John's first time. So, for the overall feel of the show, John, how did you feel about it? Like, how did you feel about the aesthetic and how it came across?
I'm going to tell you, I really enjoyed how I like that they call their superstars, they refer to them as fighters. Instead of saying the following match is scheduled for blah, 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 they say the following bout is scheduled for blah, blah. It's presented with more of an air of realism, I feel. And it's something that I really like to see. And a bit of a nice surprise for me that you didn't tell me about when I watched it. We've had this discussion before. I was a WCW kid. I was elated to hear the symphonic melodic tones of the voice of none other than Tony Schiavone on play-by-play commentary.
Well, WCW kid, not only did you get Tony Schiavone, but you got an old man in Colonel Robert Parker, who I believe he managed the Hollywood Blondes, but now he manages the Dirty Blondes. Little contrast in comparison there. So this week, we got a video montage of Shane Swerve Strickland becoming the inaugural MLW champion. Whose house? That's right. We see Selena De La Renta pestering Swerve about Pentagon's #1 contendership. There's some mind games in Swerve's dressing room, and ultimately Pentagon blinded Shane with red mist. Tony Schiavone and Rich Bocchini, formerly Rich Brennan of NXT fame, tell us that MLW officials are upset at Pentagon and Selena, so his number one contendership is up for grabs in tonight's main event against none other than Pentagon's brother and also part of Selena De La Renta's stable, Phoenix. The first match we got was Cotto Brazil versus Trey Miguel. My thoughts on this. I've heard of Trey Miguel, but never heard of Cotto Brazil. Cotto has been in MLW longer, the commentary tells us, and Trey is newer to the scene. This match was very fast-paced. There was a lucha dodging sequence, which was nice. Trey's moves looked pretty, while Cotto's looked more strong, both having similar types of moves. At one point, Cotto came off the top, and Trey caught him in an STO position and kicked Cotto in the face with a standing back kick, which looked absolutely insane. Cotto hit a nice-looking running sliced bread, but ultimately Trey wins with a setup like the Osprey kick in the corner, but did a 619 to the back of Cotto's head, which set up for a diving Meteora for the win. I was impressed by both, but being unfamiliar with both, I was pulling for Cotto, whose moves came off harder and more believable. Miguel seems like another new age high flyer, and if given some time, as he's only 23, could develop past that. The scene is flooded with those types of wrestlers right now, and the more successful ones find character or have a certain tweak to regular high-flying style to stand out, whereas Trey just seems run-of-the-mill, but he is only 23. What did you think about this match, John?
I really liked it, and I agree with what you said about all the lucha dodge stuff. I love seeing stuff like that. Hey Miguel officially has my favorite nickname in all of professional wrestling. They call him the Fresh Prince of Mid-Air. I absolutely love that. And yeah, it was a really decent match. What was the second match?
We're going to get there.
Yeah.
So, after that, we get a video package for the first time Phoenix and Pentagon wrestled each other in MLW, hyping the main event. We get a commercial with Court Bauer, Shane Strickland, and Barrington Hughes promoting the MLW show July 19th in the Melrose Ballroom in New York City, which will be a Fusion taping. They're bringing everyone out and hyping it as the biggest show for MLW yet. Rich Bocchini interviews Selena De La Renta at her place in Dorado, Puerto Rico. She says she has connections all over Latin America, in Bolivia, Chile, etc. She's talking to Telemundo. She is a successful businesswoman and asks Rich if he has cat hair on his jacket. He starts to talk, and she just throws him into the pool, which I thought was hilarious. Then we get a backstage interview with the Empresa, and she says she has both Phoenix and Pentagon, so either way the title will come back to her stable. What are you thinking about Selena De La Renta? How do you feel about her?
She kind of reminds me of Selena Vega from the WWE side, but in a much more like straight businesswoman type of role.
More professional.
Yeah, way more. And I like what I'm saying with having her lead a faction. Sort of like it's sort of not. She's sort of playing like one of those. It's like a Queen of the South type character. I don't know if you've ever heard of that show. It was a show about like a drug cartel, but it was like it's like she's doing the whole like woman in charge thing. I really like that.
Yeah, she much more professional than Zelina, and I think I like how she says anytime they call her a manager, she says, "No, I just am an agent for premier Latin talent," which is good because the role and title of manager forever whenever he was linked up with Punk and Lesnar. So then we see Filthy Tom Lawler and Simon Gotch beating up Jimmy Havoc last week when they were leaving. We see them both in a pool, and they are asked about their beef with Havoc. They don't have beef with him, but say he deserved a beating. If Havoc wants some, he can come get some. Now that is just downright filthy. Filthy Tom Lawler's living up to his name, and Simon Gotch just comes off as a prick. I I think it's funny that that they just beat up Jimmy Havoc just for the hell of it, especially after Jimmy Havoc had such a hard-hitting deathmatch style match with Joey Janela that night. Um, Tom Lawler comes from the UFC, much like Matt Riddle, so it's nice to see more quote unquote legit wrestlers in the wrestling business. Our second match was the elimination tag match. Colonel Robert Parker's Dirty Blondes of Mike Patrick and Leo Bryan versus Jimmy Utah and Jason Cade. My thoughts were first off, Mike Patrick came out with tobacco juice on his chest and had a spit cup, which was just hysterical. The beginning of the match was dominated by the quick pace and high flying of Cade and Utah. A suicide dive from Utah and a Fosbury flop from Cade, taking out the Blondes twice in a row on the outside. Things change quick when Utah goes for a diving crossbody to Mike Patrick, but Mike rolls through and grabs the tights for the 3 count. Utah is eliminated. Cade hits both men, but the 2 big men corner Cade and take control. Cade comes back with his agility and does a really sweet tornado DDT, kicking off the other blonde. Cade eliminates Mike with Black Magic, which is a backslide driver. Leo, Bryan, and Cade, and Leo just grounding Cade with elbow drops. Cade hit a Hurricane Rana. Parker trips Cade, and the distraction causes both Dirty Blondes to come into the ring and hit a double-team Alabama slam, which leads to Cade's elimination. The Stud Stable wins. The Dirty Blondes played their role well, big, nasty, old-school bullies, and pairing them with new-school, agile, and flying Cade and Utah creates an interesting dynamic. This has been an ongoing feud in MLW. After the match, we get Utah and Cade interviewed by Andrea Ocampo in the back, and she asks if they weren't in sync. Cade takes offense before Utah says tag teams can disagree sometimes, but says they will be ready for the tag team title tournament. How do you feel about this?
This was another good match from my first time viewing Major League Wrestling, and I like what I see. The Dirty Blondes sort of remind me of, it's like a mix of new school, you got Heavy Machinery on NXT, and old school Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. It's like they took those 2 teams and smashed them together, and the Dirty Blondes came out.
I definitely agree with Cade and Murdoch, but I would take Heavy Machinery out of there and put in
Yeah.
because they're just downright disgusting.
Right.
But
yeah, good classic tag team action.
Yes, I agree. After that, we get the tail of the tape for Phoenix and Penta. Phoenix is a technico, which is someone who follows the rules, as Penta is a rudo, who takes opportunities when given. We see Andrea Ocampo interview Shane Strickland. Shane says Pentagon missing him proves he's intimidated by Swerve. He says Penta can decapitate him, he can cut off his arms, legs, whatever. As long as he has his heart, he will be the champion. Then we get our main event, which is Phoenix versus Pentagon. The Impresario leads Pentagon out, even though Phoenix is part of her stable as well. Some favoritism? Weird. Phoenix works those ropes unlike anyone. Penta pops Phoenix up, but Phoenix comes down with a Hurricane Rana. Phoenix with a springboard swan dive to Penta on the outside, followed by a double springboard double stomp to Penta in the corner after Penta gets in. Tide changes when Phoenix springboards back into Pentagon, but Pentagon catches him with a dropkick to Phoenix's back. Pentagon whips Phoenix into a pull on the outside. Back in the ring, Pentagon makes the crowd quiet before slapping his brother's chest in the corner. He goes for it again with a Cierro Miedo taunt, but Phoenix stops it. Sling Blade by Penta gets a 2 count. Phoenix on the apron and Penta kicks him to make Phoenix drape over the second rope. Pentagon goes for a running dropkick, but Phoenix ninja rolls in and hits a cutter. Pentagon is in the corner and Phoenix does a quick side springboard thrust kick. Phoenix goes for a running Rana, but Pentagon counters to a powerbomb backbreaker. 2 count. Lots of kicks from both lead to a spin kick to Pentagon, and both are down. Phoenix goes to the apron again. Pentagon follows and kicks Phoenix in the leg. Phoenix up and pump kick, floats over into the ring, kicks Pentagon, and a double springboard double stomp to Pentagon's back on the apron. This leaves both men lying on the outside. Phoenix throws Pentagon into the ring. Phoenix hits a high angle senton off the top for a 2 count. Selena cheering on Pentagon. Pentagon driver on the apron, 2 count. Pentagon goes for the arm breaker to his own brother, which has been known to break arms. Penta hits the fear factor and Phoenix kicks out. Pentagon wins with the Pentagon driver. Jesus Christ, these two brothers have amazing chemistry. Phoenix is one of the premier high flyers, rivaled only by Ospreay, Neville, and Ricochet. What a match. How did you feel about this match, bud?
Well, it's just like you said, brothers that make chemistry, but it was no shock to me at all that this match was good as it was. It's really, it was kind of my first time really seeing a Ray Phoenix match because he doesn't pop up in as many places as Pentagon does. But from what I've seen from Pentagon in the past and this match here, he's definitely taken one of my top spots in the outside of WWE wrestlers that I really like.
Yeah. Pentagon has the difference between the two brothers is Pentagon has an undeniable look and character, whereas Phoenix comes off like a younger Rey Mysterio. Like whenever you used to watch Rey Mysterio in WCW and you were just like, wow, that guy's insane and amazing. That is the same feeling I get when I see Phoenix, because in WWE they call Grand Metalik the king of the ropes, but he's not. Phoenix is like a trapeze artist. It's insane. So this show is entertaining, good character and story development. MLW Fusion has a lot of potential. The roster is talented, and they have managers. I'm confused how a tag title tournament will happen, as I've only seen 2 tag teams in the first 5 episodes. It's apparent that Shivani doesn't know all the new names for the new moves, but it's okay because Rich got his back, and Tony sounds good. I like the feel of the show, smaller than the Impact Zone, so it's like an old-school studio wrestling type vibe. The show was littered with MLW advertisements, which kind of took away from the show, but is understandable as they're new on TV and new in general. Fusion is named for the fusion of all types of styles, and aside from Pentagon and the Dirty Blondes, all I saw this week was a lot of high-flying, agility-based wrestlers. I'd grade it a solid B. MLW is a show worth the hour spent. So, this week, the Best of the Super Junior tournament, the 25th installment in New Japan, started off. I was given the odd days, and John was given the even days. We have 1 through 5 that we've watched, and we're going to give you some information, how we feel about it, all that stuff. I don't know if we're going to go as in-depth as we went with the MLW show. So, night 1 was a banger. First, we got Kanemaru from Suzuki Gun against Tiger Mask. He's the 4th man to don the mask. He was trained by the original Tiger Mask, Sayama. This is the 16th showing for Tiger Mask. And so these two guys I'm fairly unfamiliar with. Tiger Mask had a great flurry of offense at one point, hitting a high kick to a running Kanemaru, followed by a Tiger Driver, an avalanche butterfly suplex, and a cross arm breaker. Kanemaru got to the rope and took the match outside. He slammed a young boy onto a prone Tiger Mask. Then as Tiger Mask got up, he took a young boy into the ring and baseball slide style threw the young boy into Tiger Mask, going for a count-out victory. but Tiger Mask makes it in time for to beat the countout. Kanemaru hits a suplex, then a superplex, but Tiger Mask turns the landing into a quick roll-up for the win. For not being too familiar with either competitor, I thought both men played their roles perfectly. The match, when in Kanemaru's favor, was outside, violent, and underhanded, when in Tiger Mask's favor was very wrestling-driven. Good opener to the tournament. Tiger Mask gets revenge from last year's tournament on Kanemaru. Tiger Mask at 2 points, Kanemaru at 0 points. Match 2 had ACH versus Flip Gordon. Thoughts? These two men are known for their time in ROH. ACH left there and works all over now, and he's the AAW champ. He works in MLW, Evolve, etc., and was in last year's tournament. ACH also went to last year's Junior Tag Tournament final, teaming with Ryusuke Taguchi. Holy shit, what a match. ACH basically formed his style to being Chop Master and hitting a lot of strikes, and I think this was to highlight Flip's picture-perfect high-risk offense. If you've never seen a Flip Gordon match, watch this one. His finesse reminds me of Prince Devitt, but more high-flying. They went outside into the crowd and Flip did a big dive onto ACH at one point. ACH made it back in the ring on time. ACH was selling a shoulder injury but hit a one-arm deadlift German and then a soul buster for the win. At one point, Flip went to the top and ACH grabbed his leg twice in desperation, then hit a backflip kick to stop the oncoming offense. I've never seen this backflip kick before, and I thought it was just an insane spot. Another time, ACH played possum, making Flip think he connected a grounded thrust kick, which led to a top rope corkscrew moonsault miss. The biggest highlight was when Flip springboarded off one rope to another and did a dive onto ACH. Flip's balance is uncanny. This guy's future is super bright. ACH with 2 points, Flip Gordon with 0 points. Match 3. Of Roppongi 3K, Yo versus Bushi of LIJ. One half of Roppongi 3K against the mystifying member of LIJ. This match was a hit-for-hit match. Yo came out looking like a Japanese Texas tornado. Yo could lay some things in harder, I feel, but Bushi was very aggressive. I love the spiked Hangman's DDT onto the apron from Bushi to Yo. The match ends when Yo turns a codebreaker into a Zack Sabre Jr.-like pin. Yo with 2 points, Bushi with 0 points. The main event of Night 1 saw the new Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori versus the International Wrestling Grand Prix Junior Heavyweight Champion, the Aerial Assassin Will Ospreay. High expectations for this match, which was delivered. Taiji has shown a lot of promise as a junior recently, as being an Impact Wrestling X Division champion and his time in Pro Wrestling Noah. And Will Ospreay is arguably the most spectacular wrestler on the planet. The match starts intense. As soon as the bell rings, Will blasts Ishimori with a dropkick, goes down, lays in some heavy forearms, and hits a hesitation dropkick to Ishimori that sends him rolling to the outside. Will is not fucking around. Ishimori whips Will into chairs, but Will jumps onto a landing above the chairs and hits a version of a tope con hilo on Ishimori outside the ring. Ospreay throws Ishimori into the corner, and both men exchange strikes. Will goes for Ishimori, but a lot of flashy dodges by Taiji. Ishimori takes control and turns Will's neck via a standing twist. Ospreay retreats to the outside and Ishimori follows, throwing Will neck first into the post, as Ospreay's neck has been a point of contention ever since Sakura Genesis. Ishimori went for a back handspring elbow, but Will moved and hit a back handspring kick instead. We get a 619 over the top rope from Will to Ishimori, a pip Cheerio, and a standing shooting star gets Will a 2 count. 2 huge kicks to a kneeling Ishimori. Ishimori tells Will to bring it on, catches his next kick, and hits him with a back elbow. After a flurry from both Ishimori and Will, Ishimori gets Will in a crossface rope break. Ishimori with the Tombstone Gutbuster gives him a 2 count, but he goes straight into another crossface. Will gets up and turns Ishimori inside out with a slam. Will is fighting so hard through the pain of his neck and his shoulder. This guy is 100% or he's nothing. He forearms from both men from knees to a standing position. Will with a reach around kick and an inverted brainbuster. Gives him a 2 count. Ospreay drapes Ishimori over the top rope. Ospreay hits a burning star press for a 2 count. Robinson special goes for the Stormbreaker. Ishimori gets out, pump kick, and reverse Rana to Ospreay, which is probably the most devastating move you could do to Ospreay at this point in his career. Ospreay coming back and goes for the Oscutter, but Ishimori catches him and hits the Bloody Cross. Ishimori pins the junior heavyweight champ. Absolute fire. Will is firing on all cylinders at all times. Taiji is a great new opponent for Will. It's very fresh. This match was damn good, and I have a feeling we will see it again at Dominion. Taiji Ishimori with 2 points, Will Ospreay with 0.
Moving in to the B block for night 2. So the B block match is kicked off with CMLL Lucha star Dragon Lee against the other half of Roppongi 3K, Show. Yo and Show. Now this was a fantastic opener for the B block because the whole match was back and forth. The crowd was on fire the whole time, which isn't normal for a Japanese crowd if you are familiar with Japanese wrestling. And yeah, there were so many counters. It was counter for counter. It was flips. It was lucha dodging. It was Show jumping in and out of the ring. Dragon Lee catching him with DDTs and Insiguri's and Hurricane Ranas. And it was a fired up match. Dragon Lee eventually picked up the win to get 2 points, with Show earning 0. The second match of night 2 pitted El Desperado against Raisuke Taguchi. Now, in this match, El Desperado truly lived up to his name because El Desperado defeated Taguchi, but what I should be saying is El Desperado assaulted Taguchi. He put the boots to this man. He attacked him with everything that wasn't nailed down. At one point, he had 2 chairs, and he had Taguchi laying face down, put the one chair between his legs, and then hit that chair with the other chair. El Desperado played up to the crowd and just became his villainous self and picked up the win on Taguchi. Now, Taguchi did get some good hits on Dragon Lee in this match. He got some good counters, but eventually there was just nothing that he could do. Now, match number 3 of day 2 had none other than Chris Sabin against the time splitter Kushida. This was a very hard-hitting match. It was another one of those counter-for-counter type ordeals. And Sabin eventually picked up the win using what he is calling Hail Sabin, proving that he is the best partner for Alex Shelley. Now, his finisher in this match was his own version of a move that has been used by Kenny Omega, which he calls the Oe Shadow, and which is also the same move that Switchblade Jay White uses, which he calls the Kiwi Crusher. And it was brought to light by Kevin Kelly on commentary that while training for New Japan, Chris Sabin was actually training with Jay White, so that could be where he picked up that move from. The main event of night 2, rounding off the B block action of this evening, was the ticking time bomb Hiromu Takahashi against the villain Marty Scurll. Now, at the beginning of this match, Scurll was very cautious with Takahashi, almost like he just didn't know what was going to happen. He wasn't sure how to approach Takahashi, and Takahashi lived up to his name of the time bomb with a bunch of out of nowhere flurries of moves, which came at different intervals throughout the match. Marty Scurll eventually hit a tombstone pile driver on the apron of the ring, which rendered Hiromu Takahashi completely useless for a short time. And upon going for the wishbone finger snap that Marty is famous for, one of the things that we always love about Marty Scurll is the things he says during the match. So this started with he was going for the finger snap, and he was screaming in Takahashi's face, saying, "You'll never be best of the Super Juniors while I'm around." And before he could get out the word around, he quickly turned what he was saying into the phrase, "oh shit," as Takahashi rocketed up, lifted Scurll over his head, and gave him a German suplex, which he then transitioned into sort of a laying down triangle hold. It was like a triangle hold, but he was on its side. And this rendered Marty Scurll unconscious, which led to Takahashi picking up the win over Scurll via referee stoppage. Rounding out day 4 with Takahashi, Sabin, El Desperado, and Dragon Lee all picking up 2 points.
Day 3, A block. We get, let's see here. The first match was Tiger Mask versus Yo. This was an okay match. Yo was the young flyer, and Tiger Mask was the more ground and submission striker type. Some nice sequences with Yo drop kicking Tiger's back, draping him over the second rope, and then jumping to the apron for a kick. Tiger Mask hits a double underhook avalanche suplex, followed by a dragon suplex pin for the win. Tiger Mask 4 points, Yo 2 points. Match 2 was Flip Gordon versus Kanemaru. Flip with the kips, man. If you've never seen Flip, he does multiple kip-ups like a dance. There was a big tope con hilo from Gordon. Kanemaru sends Flip out, and Flip tries to springboard in, but Kanemaru stops him and guts him on the rope. Kanemaru drives a chair into Flip's throat outside. When Flip gets in, Kanemaru steps on his chest and throat. Kanemaru with a camel clutch. Flip misses 3 kicks in a row, standing low and jumping, continuing Kanemaru putting the boots to Flip. Big running dropkick in the corner from Flip earns a 2 count. Real cool sequence in the corner leads to a dive, being countered by knees from Kanemaru. Kitchen sink from Kanemaru for a 2 count. Kanemaru hits a tilt-a-whirl DDT for another 2 count. Gordon with a super kick to a jumping Kanemaru. Kanemaru on the second rope, Flip springboards and kicks him in the back of the head. A rope-assisted 450 gets Flip the win. Match 2 was better than match 1. I wouldn't put this on a must-watch list, but because the lack of commentary really hurts this show. Flip is precise, balanced, and elegant. Kanemaru played a great dastardly heel. Flip picks up his first 2 points, and Kanemaru still sits at 0. Match 3 was Bushi versus Taiji Ishimori. The match was good, could be greater at a bigger event. Taiji was getting cheered early on, but slowed the pace down and did some heel moves for the crowd to turn on him, which I thought was right and shows that Ishimori understands how to listen to the crowd and get them to where you want them to be. A lot of great sequences and spots between Bushi and Ishimori. We got a big missile dropkick followed by a suicide dive from Bushi. Bushi came off the top while Taiji was on the rope for his version of the Rana. Taiji hits a tombstone gutbuster after catching Bushi in the code breaker from the top rope. Ishimori did the slide out German, which is a trademark of his. The match ended when Ishimori hit the Bloody Cross. Good outing, and like I said earlier, could be better on a bigger stage. Bushi sitting with 0 points at this time. Haji Ishimori with 4 points. The main event of Night 3 was ACH versus Will Ospreay. This is great action, whether it was strikes, lucha dodges, chain wrestling, or flying. Lots of anime-type posturing from both, which makes sense since they're both superheroes. At one point, Will went for ACH's injured shoulder outside and pulled ACH through the post to slam his shoulder into it. Back in the ring, Will works the arm and shoulder with a trap-type submission. More work on the arm. Ospreay hits the ropes, but ACH counters with a roll-up. Ospreay kicks out, and ACH does a standing splash. Lots of action in between, Will working ACH's arm. ACH catches Ospreay off a springboard into a SDO-type backbreaker and a German for a 2 count. For every chop ACH throws, it gets slower but harder, one eventually putting Ospreay on his knees. Chops to Ospreay as he leans on the ropes to keep himself up. ACH whips Ospreay, but Ospreay back handsprings and kicks him. Hesitation dropkick in the corner to ACH. Ospreay springboards in with a phenomenal forearm. Ospreay going for a double underhook, looking like a Stormbreaker, but ACH won't let it happen, so Ospreay kicks his arm and goes for it again, only for ACH to flip him over into a jackknife-type pin for a 2 count. Ospreay goes for the Os Cutter, but ACH catches him and delivers a Death Valley driver for a 2 count. ACH goes for a running knee in the corner, but he misses. Ospreay dodges, and he flips over. The momentum he has with the knee, he flips over and onto the outside. Ospreay hits a Fosbury flop after some strikes to ACH on the apron. Back inside, Ospreay hits ACH with a red arrow, but definitely not as good looking as Neville's, for a 2 count. ACH with a backflip kick to Ospreay, who is looking for another top rope maneuver. 2 count. ACH with a one-arm deadlift German. ACH running knee to Ospreay, hits for in the corner. ACH goes for a suplex, but Ospreay turns it into a stunner. I believe whenever Mark Andrews does that, they call it the Slumdog Millionaire. So after the stunner, we get the Robinson special into the Stormbreaker, which gives Ospreay the win. It's a great match. ACH should be in New Japan more than just for their Best of Super Juniors. He could be a really good opponent for Ospreay, and his love of anime endears him to the crowd. After the match, Ospreay kneels to ACH's level, and they slap hands and fist bump in a sign of respect. ACH leaves, and Ospreay grabs the mic. Ospreay speaks Japanese. Who knew? Then he speaks English and basically says this is the best of Super Junior heavyweights, but everyone knows he is the best junior heavyweight in the world. Ospreay with 2 points, ACH with 2 points.
Moving on to Night 4. Another good showing for the B block. Started off with Joe defeating Chris Sabin. Now, these two had really good chemistry. It was another one of those kind of ordeals, which Sabin is putting on in this tournament. So Sho picks up his first points with 2 over Sabin. Next match, we had Dragon Lee going against Taiguchi. And this was an interesting match because we had the comedy style of Rasuke Taguchi against the lucha style of Dragon Lee. So a very, very serious type of wrestling. So Dragon Lee picks up the win over Taguchi. Taguchi is not having a great time in this tournament. After that, they had Kushida defeating Marty Scurll. Marty Scurll can't seem to get any points going in this tournament. It's kind of making me sad to see because I like Marty Scurll, but I like Kushida too, so I'm not complaining too much. Another good match. Marty Scurll doing all his classic stuff with the finger snapping and the screaming and just being a villain. And Kushida doing all the flippy, jumpy stuff that we love Kushida for. Rounding out the night was a tournament match which doubled as a grudge match between El Desperado and Hiromu Takahashi. This match was amazing. It was a damn good contest because these are two guys with sort of similar styles and just as much disregard for the rules as the other. Hiromu Takahashi and El Desperado spent a good 50% of the time in the match outside of the ring, fighting amongst the crowd, throwing each other into walls and ring posts, hitting with chairs, and the like. This ended when El Desperado hit Takahashi with his finisher for a straight-up pinfall. So, rounding out day 4, we have El Desperado and Dragon Lee tied at 4 points each. Chris Sabin, Hiromu Takahashi, Kushida, and Sho all tied at 2 points each. And Taguchi and Skrull tied at 0.
All right. Well, I'm going to get into day 5. I'm going to be honest with everyone. It came out this morning. I got to watch 2 matches, and I watched the finishes to the other 2. So you're not going to be getting a full in-depth review as you are used to. All right. Day 5. A block. First match was Tiger Mask against Bushi. This match started off hot, with Bushi attacking before the bell, sending Tiger to the outside. After a splash, Bushi chokes Tiger with a chair. In the ring, Bushi goes for a chair shot, but the ref pulls it back, giving Tiger the way for a mid-kick to the stomach. The match had all of their signature moves and was a good back-and-forth action. Tiger Mask eventually hits the Avalanche double hook suplex and the Dragon Bridge suplex for the victory. Tiger with 3 wins in a row. Who saw this coming? Tiger Mask at 6 points. Bushi still with that big old goose egg. The next match was ACH versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru of Suzuki Gun. My thoughts on this match, ACH brings the AAW title out, and just like the previous match, Kanemaru attacks before the bell on the outside. A lot of work to ACH's injured left shoulder, and a jumping DDT off the second rope gives Kanemaru his first victory of the tournament. Good storytelling for ACH. I wonder if his next match will be a loss due to referee stoppage, as his shoulder injury has came into play in every match so far in the tournament. ACH has 2 points, and now Kanemaru has 2 points. We get Flip Gordon versus Taiji Ishimori. Flip Gordon steals a great match after falling over the Bloody Cross attempt, taking Ishimori chest first into the ropes and doing a back roll up bridging pin. Very unexpected win here, as most are thinking since his appearance at Dontaku, Ishimori will win the tournament. He still can, and this loss isn't major in the grand scheme. Flip, 4 points. Taiji Ishimori, 4 points. The main event was Will Ospreay versus Yo. And Ospreay, people are saying this is Yo's best singles match so far. I saw the end, which had Ospreay hit the Robinson special and then the Stormbreaker. Ospreay with 4 points and Yo with 2. So we got a lot. We got Bushi at 0 points. We got Kanemaru and ACH with 2 points. Flip Gordon, Taiji Ishimori. Yo's in 2 points too. Ospreay, Taiji Ishimori, and Flip with 4 points. And leading the A block alone is Tiger Mask at 6 points. I'm excited to continue this. I don't know if we're going to continue next week going every day, but we are definitely going to keep up with the Best of Super Junior tournament and talk about the best matches we have seen thus far. We're definitely going to cover the semifinals and the finals, but this week, since it just started, we wanted to get real in depth on it. Now, as you know, I always like to end the show with a question. This week's question was a fantasy booking type question, and if you're listening to this and you have any interest in doing a fantasy booking Best of Super Junior tournament, you can chime in on our Instagrams or Twitters, which we will give you at the end of the show. So the basic rules here were no WWE wrestlers, as WWE wrestlers have never been in a Best of Super Junior when they were contracted by WWE. And at least 8 of the 16 participants must be New Japan wrestlers. John, you want to go first?
So, for mine,
Oh, my bad. Hold on one second. Also, we are giving the participants of each block, we are giving the finals, like who won each block and whoever and who wins. We're not going all the points. We're not doing in-depth stuff like that.
so how this is if you've never seen one or heard of it. So the A block and B block thing is something that I think would throw a lot of American wrestling fans off. At first, it certainly did me. This is my first time viewing a Best of the Super Junior tournament. It's not single elimination one and done thing. The point system is what determines who moves forward. So the A block fights the A block, and the B block fights the B block. Whoever gets the most points out of those goes on to the final. The final, which is the A block versus the final B block. And definitely a more traditional sports type thing. So for my A block for the fantasy best of the Super tournament, I have the time splitter Kushida. I have Kaiji Ishimori. I have Will Ospreay, Jushin Thunder Liger, Independent Star ACH, Free Agent Rey Mysterio. I have Impact Wrestling Star Andrew Everett and Impact Wrestling Star Matt Sydal. For my B block, I have Hiromu Takahashi, Rocky Romero, Kota Ibushi, Impact Stars Eddie Edwards, Austin Aries, and DJZ, New Japan Star Marty Scurll, and Free Agent Tajiri.
I like that Tajiri.
Yeah.
My fantasy Best of Super Junior. The A block consists of Will Ospreay, the current champion, freelance wrestler of the Mexican and he's all over the independents everywhere, Rey Fenix, the time splitter Kushida, representing Big Japan Wrestling, Takuya Nomura, who looks like a shorter version of Takeshi Morishima, who was Bryan Danielson, one of Bryan Danielson's greatest rivals, but he wrestles a lot like Katsuyori Shibata. The villain Marty Scurll, Flip Gordon, Bushi, and from representing Dragon Gate, Aita. The B block consists of Hiromu Takahashi, freelance wrestler, but has been showing up a lot in Dramatic Dream Team, aka DDT, Mike Bailey, El Desperado, the King of Swerve, Shane Strickland, Tiger Mask, the current champion, junior champion in Noah, Daisuke Harada, Taiji Ishimori, and Austin Aries. The A block winner would be Kushida. The B block winner would be Aries. Aries would win and go on to wrestle Will Ospreay at that Dominion. Now, I know we like to... Go ahead.
for the end of mine, my finalists ended up being Rey Mysterio and Kota Ibushi. Woo! With Ibushi picking up the win and going on to face IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay at Dominion.
I find it a little funny that you chose some guys who have already transcended the junior heavyweights, but they could still be in there.
Yeah.
So why not? Also, you chose Matt Sydal, and I don't think Matt Sydal is allowed back in Japan because they're really tight on drug enforcement, and he got caught with synthetic weed. I don't know. That's why he hasn't shown up in New Japan in so long.
I'm wondering because he fits the style,
right?
Sure.
He was tag teaming with Ricochet for a long time, but I'm not going to hold that against you, John. Yeah. Now, we like to end it with a question, but through all this talk, we forgot to mention something that we've promoted, which is the Limitless one. Bask in his glory, Keith Lee had his last match this past weekend at Evolve 105 for his home promotion Evolve against Matt Riddle, who's the Evolve champion. It was for the Evolve championship and no rope break contest. We're not going to go in depth about the match. It was, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but I really want to talk about what Keith Lee is going to do next. The match was very good for an indie match because it had lots of strikes, a lot of stealing finishers. We got to see Matt Riddle take flight, which is very rare. I love how Keith didn't exploit Riddle's injured arm, only when he felt he had to. The Riddle jump from the top into the big pounce from Lee was absolutely amazing. Post-match, Lee said to always bask in his glory no matter where he ends up, and to pack these Evolve shows for his brothers in the back. Keith Lee is rumored to be signing to NXT or WWE Developmental. And here's how I would book him on NXT. When you think of Keith Lee in NXT, you obviously think of his size, and your obvious thought would be to feud with Lars Sullivan. But I think you wait for that, if it even happens. Lee knows his way around the ring, he knows psychology, but his mic skills can improve. So there's two guys who come to mind, Adam Cole and Ethan Carter III, or EC3. I don't think they call him Ethan Carter III yet in NXT. Cole is more established in NXT, so since they're still building EC3, I'd have Lee's first major feud be with Cole. I'd have him debut and wrestle someone like a Fabian Eichner in a really decent match to show what he can do. Then he'd have a couple squash matches before Cole approaches Lee to join. Lee says no, they keep badgering him, which ends up awakening the beast in Lee. Lee's big rival on the Indies shows up as a new member of the Undisputed Era, and of course I'm talking about Donovan Dijak. I think they're calling him Chris Dijak. He hasn't shown up on NXT yet, but he has been working house shows. And once Adam Cole goes up to the main roster, you reignite that Keith Lee and Donovan Dijak feud. Now, whether Cole loses the belt, the North American belt, to Lee during that feud, or I also thought it would be very interesting for Cole to announce his own departure for the main roster, which no wrestler in NXT has done. It's always been like a big deal with William Regal and Flowers after a match and all that stuff. And I think it'd be funny if, during a mid-promo with the Undisputed Era, or even with Keith Lee, he's like, hey guys, guess what? I'm going to Raw on Monday, so I got this title, and everybody else in my faction has titles, so here you go, Dijak. And Dijak is just laughing, and Lee is just infuriated, and that continues the feud. Or Lee gets it before Adam Cole leaves, and then Dijak goes for retribution for the Undisputed Era. That's how I would book Keith Lee in NXT. How do you feel about that, Jung?
I think those are all really good ideas. And for me, Keith Lee in NXT seems like what I would do is go for a Brian Cage type build. with what Impact's doing. Go for a very slow build. Eventually, you get the lowest level of feud. You have to eventually. But yeah, I like what you said. I don't know anything about the Donovan Dijak stuff. But if what you're saying is true, I could see that being a very interesting feud for the NXT North American title.
Now, when you talk about the Brian Cage build, would you have Keith Lee debut on NXT, or would you build him like, would you have him go to different promotions like Cassius Ohno does and show video packages of him beating up people before debuting him on NXT? Or would you debut him on NXT, then do that, and then start a feud with somebody? Because the thing they're doing with Brian Cage, he wrestled on Impact. Now they're showing him other places on this World Destruction Tour. So I just wanted to get more clarification.
I think the video package thing would be interesting, but WWE has never really done that. I think the more obvious route would go to just do the WWE thing, where you have them do squash matches for like a couple weeks, and then he pisses off the wrong guy and gets his first real match.
Who would his first real match be?
I would say Fabi Leichner was a good shout out. Maybe a guy like the Finest, Kona Reeves. Maybe that big guy they got, that's Cesar Bononi. That'd be a good one. He's the Brazilian guy.
Yeah, that's true. That could be a good feud.
Think of my other big guys they got.
How about that guy from the Greatest Royal Rumble? Babatunde.
Oh, Babatunde? Yeah, that'd be
We
good.
haven't seen him since.
Maybe put him up against Tucker Knight from Heavy Machinery. Or some other guys they got EC3. That was a good shout out. But yeah, I see a lot of good things coming if Keith Lee decides to sign with NXT.
And with that, all of you Whitmanites and Kern poppers, like corn.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in to episode 12 of the Omega Cast. If you enjoyed it, like it, subscribe. Let us know what you think. You can find me at j.p.whitman at Instagram and the JP Whitman on Twitter. And with that, whether it is morning, afternoon, or night, I hope you have a great one. And peace and love to all of you.